Hi, I'm Natalia. You are on my channel where I talk a lot about achieving native-like fluency for non-native speakers. I am not a native speaker myself. My first language is Russian, and I do know that it's a feasible task to achieve real fluency in a target language. I'm not talking about B1 type of fluency. I'm not talking about conversational fluency either, where you know enough just to get by, or where you know enough to buy the things you need in the supermarket. I'm talking about real fluency when you can enjoy meaningful conversations with people and you can build meaningful, sincere relationships with people. When native speakers do not need to adapt their language so that you can understand them better because they feel, they know, and they see that you understand them no problem. When you can produce text that native speakers will enjoy reading and they will not feel that something is off here, that something sounds awkward. And when you can do business in a target language and you can motivate international teams, you can speak to international teams, you can speak at international conferences and get your message across. And nobody has to struggle understanding you or your accent. Maybe you also know some people who have achieved a certain level of English skills quite fast and then they got stuck for years. Unfortunately, I see this a lot. A journey from an absolute beginner to a level where we can say a person has intermediate or upper intermediate level of English is usually quite short. People get there and they know how to get there, and then they don't know what to do next. It feels like you're making progress very fast when you're moving from zero knowledge to a certain level of knowledge. I usually work with people who have already very good, or we can say who have decent English skills, but they need more. They have a certificate which says their English is upper intermediate, but it's not enough for them. For the real world tasks that they need to deal with, this level is not enough. And usually, people understand very quickly that the time it takes to move from upper intermediate to real fluent, well, they were not ready to invest that much time in it. That's what they come to realize very quickly. People often expect that the journey is going to be just the same. They're going to buy the recommended books, they're going to do some grammar drills for a certain period of time, they're going to learn certain vocabulary that they're supposed to know at this level, and then the time will come and they will be ready to take a test, they will pass a test, and voila, they have reached the next level. Unfortunately, at some point, this strategy stops working. Everything people were doing before doesn't work anymore. People don't feel that they're making any more progress. They keep doing the same things, but they're not making any more progress. I am a qualified English teacher. I got my teacher's degree more than 15 years ago. And I remember that I would be so ashamed to tell anyone in the United States or in the United Kingdom or anywhere I would travel where people would speak better English than they do in Russia. I would be ashamed to tell them what my job was. I would be ashamed to tell them that I am a teacher, a qualified teacher, because my English was not what I felt it was supposed to be. I would understand maybe only a third of what people were telling me when I was in the United States for the first time. I definitely couldn't produce meaningful copy that native speakers would enjoy reading. I mostly had listening comprehension problems. I couldn't understand all the accents and I couldn't understand every single word that people were telling me. I would just, grab the words that I know and then I would try to make sense of them. But most importantly, I couldn't convey my message. I couldn't get my message across. I couldn't talk about things that were meaningful to me. Yes, I could get by in a supermarket. Yes, I could do all the simple things that, any tourist can do. But I wasn't able to enjoy genuine conversations with people because people would have to adapt their language a lot for me. They would have to slow down. They would have to choose simple words, more simple words than I was able to understand. And it didn't feel like it was fun. I didn't feel that I belonged to that community. I felt that I was the odd one out, and I felt ashamed, to be honest. I did. This is why now when language teachers come to me and they take my courses after a maternity leave or just after a lot of years of not teaching or not practicing their English skills, I understand them. I understand that it's very easy to lose the skill. I also understand those people who have got their upper intermediate certificate or maybe even their advanced certificate, and then they moved to an English-speaking country and they came to realize that they do not understand their colleagues at work, or that they cannot make friends with their colleagues at work, or that it's not so easy to pick up the phone and call someone when you need to get something done, when you need to find a new apartment, when you need to buy a new car, when you need to change your insurance plan. I also understand people who feel like they're stuck, who feel like they have been investing so much time in their English skills and nothing has really changed. The answer is very simple most of the time. The answer is that those people have been doing the same things that stopped working. In order to achieve native-like fluency, in order to move to a completely new level, you need to start doing completely different things. In this video, I will not talk about advanced vocabulary, advanced grammar, because to be honest, I do not believe in these things, and I do not think that you really need to look for advanced courses, advanced vocabulary, advanced textbooks. What needs to change to a more advanced level is not the content that you're working with, is not the content that you use to practice. You can work with any YouTube video to practice your listening skills. You can, it's free and it's available most of the time. You just need internet access. You do not need to, to work with very complicated text in the English language to improve your reading comprehension. You also do not need to look for someone special. Let's say you do not need a highly educated professor and a native speaker to practice your speaking skills in the target language. What needs to move to a more advanced level is your skills, your learning skills. You need to learn how to learn yourself. No one can be responsible for that process. And the problem that is actually very easily solved once you realize it is that people expect to be taught. People don't know how to learn. This is what you need to do to move to a more advanced level. You need to learn how to learn, and you need to stop waiting for someone to teach you. I realized a long time ago that I need to teach myself how to learn. This is the only winning strategy that will take me to the next level and that will allow me to master the language and, to be honest, any other skill. If I want to get good at it, I need to know how to learn. In my opinion, 3 things set someone who has mastered the language apart from those who are just beginning to learn it or from those who are somewhere in the middle of this journey. The first thing is confidence. You are confident that you know what it means versus you kind of know what it means, So when you're confident, you stop guessing. If I am confident that I heard every word in that song, I know exactly what the song is about. If I'm confident that I heard every word that a character said in the movie, I do not need to guess what a character might have said in the movie. If I am confident in my ability to use the conditional sentences, then I know where they apply and I know how to use them. I do not guess any longer. I don't need to guess what people might have said in a movie, on the radio, on the train platform. If I'm listening to the announcements, I hear exactly what they told me. And I know exactly what that means.
Now I understand everything.
A lot of people who are stuck, they already can see big chunks of information, but what they do not see is how these pieces of information connect. What that means is that they hear the words that they know. Let's say if somebody is talking or if they're watching a live interview or a TED Talk in English, they hear the words that they know, and they do not hear all these little words in between that connect the words that they already know. Or if they do not know some of the words that are being said right now, they simply do not hear them, they ignore them, they cannot identify this new information. And then what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sense of what has just been said by trying to glue these words that they were able to get together. But you cannot see the whole picture if all you have is a bunch of fragments. Even if you see the big chunks of information, you only see the big chunks of information. The picture is not complete if you only see the most prominent parts. All the details in between are very important. Usually these details, the intonations, the prepositions, everything people say between the lines, they're more important than the words that we're able to recognize. If we want to enjoy meaningful conversations with people, this is what matters. You can see their intention through intonations, their body language. You need to know the cultural code. You need to understand exactly what they are telling you, not just roughly. When you are able to see everything, when you're able to hear everything that people tell you, you can teach yourself to hear the meaning a lot better. Because what I see a lot is that people only hear what they expect to hear. If they do not expect people to say this word in this context, they simply ignore that and they do not even hear this meaning. I see the situation so often in business when non-native speakers try to negotiate with native speakers, and non-native speakers will often have certain expectations of what needs to be said at the negotiation table and what can be said and what is allowed to be said. And when people say something unexpected, yes, they don't hear them, but what is even worse, what they're trying to do is they're trying to change what people have just told them so that it fits their expectations. And this miscommunication situations happen very often because people are pretty much guessing. They do not know exactly what people have just told them. The second thing is the ability to learn. If I know how to learn, I can use any video on YouTube to practice my listening skills. If I know how to learn, I'm not looking for an expensive conversation partner online. I have enough strategies. Actually, I share 40 plus strategies with people who are taking my courses and my programs that you can use to continuously practice your speaking skills and, most importantly, your thinking skills in a foreign language. That's even more important because everything you write, everything you say is secondary. First you think, and then you have to unpack your thoughts in meaningful words so that other people can understand what's going on in your head. If I know how to learn, I can be very independent. I can learn it at my own pace when I have the time, when it's convenient for me. I don't need to depend on anybody else's schedule. And I can be very creative. If I know how to learn, I can open a web page and see an exercise for myself. And that happens to me all the time. You know, I listen to a podcast and I learn new words. And very often these are the words that I didn't plan to learn. And when I say I'm creative, and I can be creative when I know how to learn, it means I do not follow anybody's curriculum. I do not follow a learning plan. You don't need a learning plan that is very rigid at this stage. What you need is a skill to create your own, because your life is unique. You have interests that other people don't have. You might have hobbies or intentions or aims or aspirations that other people will not understand. They might share your interest, they might help you maybe get there, they might support you, but they don't necessarily have to be like you. They do not necessarily have to like the same things that you do. And when you know how to learn, you can turn any web page, any piece of information into an exercise that you can use to hone your skills. And the third thing is time. You will understand the time differently and you will learn to value time differently. When you master a skill, when you have mastered a skill, you know that it takes time to hone it. And it takes a different amount of time to master a skill than to simply learn a skill. When you're just a beginner, you can learn a skill very quickly. You can learn to do a listening exercise. You can learn to memorize words, right? You can learn to apply a simple sentence structure when you speak. You can learn some skills very quickly. And this is what usually motivates people to continue. They feel enthusiastic, they feel very happy that they're achieving results, and that's amazing, that's great. However, it takes a lot longer to master a skill. It takes a lot longer to hone the skill. Years and years of continuous practice. You can only get better at something if you keep doing something. My fitness coach, she keeps telling me that if you want to improve your wheel pose, you obviously need to spend more time in the wheel pose. And she is definitely right. If you want to improve your English skills, you obviously need to spend more time speaking English, writing in English, thinking in English, or at least challenging yourself to think in English, reading in English. We need all 4 skills, but I would say 5, because it's not just reading, listening, speaking, and writing. The most important skill is thinking. If you can teach yourself to think in a foreign language, all the other 4 skills will come a lot easier, and they're all connected anyway. Thinking does come first, but they all are connected, and they all need to be developed at the same time. So time starts working differently for you. I can only talk about myself, but I can definitely notice that I became more patient with myself, and I came to realize that practice is all about nuances. And nuances take a lot of time to understand. So you might have done this thing a million of times, but you never notice this tiny detail. And then when the time comes and you finally notice that and you realize the magnitude of that detail and how much it matters, and this little detail can be a game changer. And once you master this little detail, once you learn how to apply it, how to use it, it can dramatically change your whole experience, and it can help you achieve something bigger. So be more patient with yourself. I find it quite surprising that nobody really talks about confidence or time or the ability to learn when we speak about achieving native-like fluency or mastering a foreign language, if any skill, because a foreign language is just a skill, no more than that. Nobody really talks about your inner state or achieving emotional balance, because this is what matters the most. Many people who are stuck, they try to learn a language from the inner state of frustration, from the inner state of disappointment in themselves, from the inner state of irritation, of being annoyed. They have been struggling understanding native speakers for so long. Let's say fast speech, when native speakers chew most of the words, when they connect them in a way that's not very comprehensive, that anytime they turn a movie on and they turn the subtitles off, the first thing they feel is they're annoyed. They feel this irritation that they can't understand native speakers. Again. They have spent so much time learning this freaking language and they can't understand people again.
I don't understand. I don't understand you.
Or when people fail to do a task or fail to communicate what they want to say, they feel disappointed in themselves again. Nobody really tells people how to work with that. Confidence usually comes from competence. If you are competent, which means you know how to do something, you have done it a million times before, there is no problem you can do it one more time, right? You are very confident that you can do it. Confidence also means you can do it in any conditions. You do not need a special brand of equipment. You do not need everybody to leave the room so that you can, focus, concentrate, and do something. You can just do it anywhere, anytime. And confidence also means that you know how to get there. So let's say if you lost your way for whatever reason, you know how to get back on track because you've done it before many times, and you know exactly how to get your results because you got them many times all by yourself.
I have done it before.
If you know how to make the words stick, if you know how to learn the words, I'm not saying memorize the words because this doesn't really help, but if you know how to learn the words and how to apply them in your speech, you can do it anytime, with any video, with any text. It doesn't matter if you have a textbook or you don't. It doesn't matter if you work with a teacher or you don't. It all doesn't matter. You know how to do it, you can get it done. If you know how to work with podcasts, let's say, and learn from them, not just how to listen to a 30-minute audio file in English and not learn anything, but if you know really how to work with podcasts and how to learn from them, how to get the most from the audio or the video that you consume in the English language, you know exactly what you're doing when you listen to a podcast or when you watch a YouTube video or when you watch a movie. You know what you're doing and you know what results are possible and what results you're getting today. That's why confidence is so important, because deliberate practice means, yes, you have to invest time in deliberate practice, but you enjoy your deliberate practice because you know exactly what you're getting out of this exercise every single time. And this confidence becomes your inner state. It changes the game. It influences the inner state. It influences your attitude to language learning. It helps you get rid of that frustration. It helps you get rid of that disappointment, because what comes instead is curiosity, interest, and you will most certainly get a sense of accomplishment after every exercise. That is very important. That is very satisfactory. That feels great. And you will no longer associate learning a language with a tedious task, but you will know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to do it one more time, and how to get better results next time. I would like to share an exercise that has helped me battle that internal state of disappointment, frustration, and this feeling when you just have no idea what you're doing and why you're doing this again and why nothing is happening and why am I stuck and why am I ashamed to tell everybody that I am a language teacher. What I started doing a few years ago, is I started measuring all my results. And I started measuring not only the things that are very easy to measure, but also the things that I thought are impossible to measure. You can easily measure the number of words that you have learned. You can easily measure the number of synonyms that you started using in your speech. But you can also measure how many times it takes you to listen to a text before you can say you understand the text 100%. You can also measure how long it takes you to motivate yourself to do an exercise. You can measure how eager you are to repeat the exercise and do another iteration of the same task. You can also measure how much easier it has become for you to watch a movie without subtitles. Right? Do you have to play the video back and forth how many times? Or do you notice that you don't really need to do this any longer because you can clearly hear every single word that people are telling you? If you do the transcribing exercise, by the way, it's an amazing exercise. It can really help you get to the next level. Transcribing means when you listen to even yourself. Let's say if you film yourself, you can transcribe your own speech. Or if you watch a YouTube video or a movie, try transcribing it. It means you have to write down every single word that people are saying. You can measure how many words you get right, or you can measure how many words you misheard or misunderstood. That's quite easy to measure. But you can also measure a lot of subtle things. Well, they are subtle at first glance, but they mean a lot and they can influence your learning process a lot as well. Try measuring your inner state. Everybody is different. Here you have to understand how you can apply this individually to yourself. What exactly are you going to measure? I gave you a few examples, but every time we sit down to fill out that table with a person, if we work together or with anyone who is in my groups, we talk about it and we set individual criteria for every person, depending on what you're struggling to improve. Maybe you're not struggling at all. But let's say if you want to make sure that you finally get the articles right, okay, you can measure that. If you notice that it's hard for you to speak without any preparation, and every time you find yourself stumbling upon words or stumbling upon your own thoughts or forgetting words or whatever, that's another thing that can be measured. How much better are you getting at it? What exactly are you doing? What exactly can you do to get better at it? There are a lot of criteria that you can measure. You know what I realized once I started working with that table, I call them progress review tables, is that I was very inattentive to myself. And I was expecting very certain results from myself, and the only result I would be happy with, let's say, I want to speak exactly like a native speaker, and if I don't see that result, then I'm doing a bad job. Then I'm disappointed in myself again, and it means I haven't achieved anything if I don't speak exactly just like a native speaker. That's so funny to me right now. But when I started working with that progress review table, and when I started measuring my results, I realized that I had more results in different areas that I couldn't even expect to notice before. I couldn't even expect to gain any new skills in those areas, but I did. I improved a lot of my personal skills. I learned to be more attentive. I learned to focus better. My concentration has improved. I stopped reacting to new information the way I used to react before, which was immediate irritation. If I didn't understand anything, I would be annoyed just immediately because I wanted to get it now. I was very impatient. So that also went away. And I started to enjoy the process a lot more because I would track my results every 2 months, and I still do. Now I do it every 3 months. I will look at my table every 3 months and I will see what exactly I have learned. Yes, my English skills are changing too. I'm very happy about that. But apart from that, many other things are improving. The things that I just didn't pay attention to before. And when I see very definite progress in so many areas of my life, I'm very happy to move on. I see that all this time and all this effort has been paying off, and it's been worth it. And this also gives me confidence that I'm on the right track. Videos are also in my table, in my progress review table. How much better am I at speaking in front of the camera? Because it used to be a disaster.
And it was a disaster.
Really, I would make so many shots and I would never like what I was seeing. So that has definitely improved. If you don't have a vlog, if you have never filmed yourself speaking English, give it a shot, try it out. It really helps because you can see how you really speak, and you can easily apply self-correcting algorithms to improve the way you think and the way you construct your sentences. I have another video on my YouTube channel where I talk about self-correcting algorithms, how to apply them, and how to build inner confidence if you have to present in a foreign language. Maybe you will find it useful. Mastering a skill always takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. If it didn't take all this time, you would never learn to appreciate it. It's a long journey. You just have to admit it, and you have to enjoy it. I hope you will. If you guys have any interesting thoughts on balancing your inner state or building inner confidence or moving to more advanced language skills, please share in the comments. I have another video as well where I share a bunch of things you can do every day to teach yourself to think in a foreign language and to teach yourself to switch between languages very fast. I do them as part of my daily practice routine, and I do many other things, and I enjoy all of them. And I think that's another thing I forgot to say. When you master a skill, you choose to invest in deliberate practice, which means you do something continuously, and it's not just one thing. When you are just a beginner, it's enough for you to master one exercise, right? So that you can feel great. For example, you take a textbook, Unit 1, meeting new people, you finish the unit, you feel great about yourself. You learn some words, you know how to greet people, you know how to say hello, goodbye, you know how to pay compliments, and then you move on to the next subject. You learn the first conditional, and then once you feel confident using it, you start learning the second conditional, and then the third, then the mixed conditional, whatever. So when you are working on language mastery, you are doing many things at the same time. You don't choose to do one thing and then you stop and then you do another thing. No, You're doing a number of things simultaneously, and this is why it works. You don't want to invest in fragments, in mastering fragments. You even don't want to invest in listening to fragments of information, in being able to make sense of fragments of information. It will not help. It's not very helpful. You need to learn to see the whole picture, and you need to learn to apply it. So yes, mastering a language means doing many different things at the same time, knowing why you're doing them, knowing when to do what and why to do each of them, and learning to see more layers of information every time you approach the same task. Because every time I do the same exercise, I see more. Like onions, you know, layers. I like that scene from Shrek.
Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it. We both have layers.
Every time I see a new layer, and that's why it gets even more interesting.